All right. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be a series on coding katas. And the important part about the coding kata, what's going to be standard to all the ones I'm going to present, is they start at the same position. It's a simple failing test. And so you have to kind of create, as someone might jokingly call it, since it's a kata, we might call it a dojo. So we have to set up our dojo. So what's a project that would allow us to do most of our coding, start most of our coding katas from? So I'm in IntelliJ. I'm going to do it in Java. I'm going to click on New Project. And there's many different types of new projects here. Now I'm going to take what's called the Spring Initializer project, okay? And in the Spring Initializer project, I'm going to just create something called a demo. So I'll call it, let's just make sure we don't have a demo there already. Well, let's go with, we'll call it Demo 2, since I might already have a project there called Demo 1. I pick what I want to have, okay, what I want it to be called, where I'm going to put it, what language I'm going to put it in, and what build system. I'm going to use Maven here, and I'm going to use Java as my, Java 11 as my start, okay? And war and jar depends on the packaging. We won't get into that right now. So we go to the next thing, and what do we want to start with? So actually what you can do here is you could choose a whole bunch of things. If you're going to build a web application, then it would give you all the right jars. In our case, since we're starting off with the most simple thing, we're just going to say nothing. We're just going to go with the most simple version of a Spring project and see what happens here. Okay, so it created our project, and now some important things here is it had our getting started thing. What I'm going to do is later on I'll show you some of the keystrokes, but actually I have presenter mode on, so you'll watch the keystrokes I've used. I don't want this in the way right now. And the starting position here on the screen tells me some of the commands that are very useful. So if I wanted to search for something, I hit shift twice. I started typing the name of a file, and here's the file. So this is the POM. This is the file that could be used to do builds. And if I, in that particular case, I hit Option F12, you'll see it's different for Windows. I should be able to do Maven test, for example. There's a train going by, it's kind of noisy. And there's our test work. So that's good. It's giving me some hints and things like that. Since I'm operating in this very low resolution mode, so you can see the font, it's very important for me to be able to make the good use of my real estate. So you see there's a shortcut I'm doing there to flick back and forth. I'm going to close that window. And if I put that back up here, here's our project view over here. So I'm going into the project view, and whoop, there we go, project view, and I should be able to scroll down, and there's one simple test case there that it created for us. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this guy. Whoop. Actually, I'm going to get rid of the guy. Let's go undo. Yeah. So let's just get rid of this guy here, delete him, because we don't care about this file. But we're going to create our own little project here. So my very first thing is to create a failing test, okay? So to create the failing test, I'm going to do new, okay? In this particular case, you saw the keystroke there, new in this directory, you'll see it again. And I want a class, so I've made a template class because I know I use this so often. This is what it looks like. I'm going to give it a name, so our test is always going to fail. That's where we start off with, always fails. So we'll call this class the always fails test, okay? We'll rename it later on. We don't want their stuff added to source code. Okay, and let's expand this guy. And you see the keystroke I did there, and it searched the true is false. That's my always fail test, and I start everything from there. And you see there's one warning, and let's look at it. If I push this key, it takes me to the warning and says this is always going to fail. Well, we know that. But let's make sure, the important thing is let's make sure it runs. So there was a keystroke I did there, and it brought up different things that I could run. And so in this case, I want to run number 2, so I could scroll down to it, or I could type the key 2. And I could also cursor over to cursor left key, and I'd choose to debug it or run it. Let's just run it in our case and see that it fails. And it does. And actually, if we go down here, see, it tells us what it fails. See, it sorted that it was, we expected false, but we got true. And so to make sure our test works, so I should be able to go over, actually, if I, here, for instance, and scroll down, up and down, or let's go back to our full mode here. I want to make this guy pass, right? So I could cursor over here and extended my selection, and then I type in true. So true is true. And I go to run my test. I use the keystroke for that. It brings up the one that I ran last time. I hit return. And my test now passes. That's the basic starting position, okay? And it's right, we go here. Let's shrink this guy down. My screen's very, very low resolution so that you guys can see things here. But you see, that was when I put it in run mode. Last time I just ran it in debug mode. So it passes there. And if I go and look at the debug mode, it was passing in that one too. Okay. And just to show things, I could put a breakpoint there and go deep. And it should hit my break. So bang. We have our, and I continue on. Again, continuing with the idea of using keystrokes there. I just continued on with hitting F9 in my case, but on different machines it's different things. So that's the basic start. Next, our next one is we're going to build a simple test from there, a bunch of simple tests from there, okay, with our starting project.